Hey guys, it's Katie here with Life Mundane and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to answer for you a question I get all the time, which is what do I do with my child after they finish All About Reading Level 4? You've completed the program and now you're just wondering, what do I do with all this time that I've been using for reading instruction? Do we need to continue reading instruction? Do I replace it with something else? How do I find books? All of that and more we're going to answer here in this video. So let's get started. Hi, my name is Katie and welcome to Life in the Mundane. I am second generation homeschool mom of 6 beautiful kiddos, and on this channel we talk all things resources. I love to share with you resources that are going to help you in your homeschooling and help encourage you in your biblical parenting and how you can utilize those to their fullest potential so that you can make the most of the little moments. The big thing to remember is that your child has now entered a new phase of learning, a phase that they'll actually spend the majority of their life in. And so it's important to start to shift to this way of thinking. Up until now, your child has been learning to read, and now they are ready to read to learn. This is an exciting time, an exciting opportunity, and it opens up the whole world and all of the different things that they can learn through books. But before I jump into what we should do in this new phase, we do want to make sure that we are finished with the learning to read phase. Typically, if your child has finished levels 1 through 4, your child should be ready to go. They should be completely good to read most material. But that being said, we do want to make sure they've mastered that material. So All About Reading has created a mastery quiz or an assessment. You guys can find that down in the link below, and then it will help you score it. Within that, it should let you know if your child has mastered the material and is ready to move on to that next phase, or if there's maybe an additional help that needs to be given. If your child comes back with some struggles still, it might be something where you go back and revisit those lessons of All About Reading to review those skills, having them reread the readers that come along with the program or just review that skill. If there are several holes where they have, it might be a good idea to go back and redo a level. But most children, after they finish level 4, will be ready to move on to that learning through reading stage. So what does that stage look like? Well, the first thing is it is now time to replace the time that your child has been learning to read with more subjects, either diving deeper into these subjects or starting them for the first time, depending on your child's age and developmental stage. What are these subjects, you might ask? Well, these are things like spelling, writing, and grammar. You can take an approach depending on what works best for you and your homeschool philosophy. What we personally do is I will start All About Spelling when my children are done with level 1 of All About Reading. So you kind of start All About Reading 2 and level 1 of All About Spelling at the same time. There are a few kids that I have waited till later in the process to introduce All About Spelling just because of their developmental needs, but that is kind of a good thing to do. So at this point, you can now focus more heavily on spelling, or if you have not yet started, start a spelling program. As far as grammar goes, I like to take a gentle approach to grammar at the beginning. So when my kids are in All About Reading levels 1 through 4, I have them do
Grammar Galaxy
by Melanie Wilson. This program is so fun and exciting. I won't talk a lot about it here, but you can check out the videos. I've done it up in the iCards and down in the description below. It's a very gentle approach that really helps through exposure to expose your kids to a lot of different grammar concepts and even some beginning writing concepts. So I have them work through that while they're in the All About Reading phase. After they've graduated All About Reading, a lot of times I will transition my kids into Fixed It Grammar, which is done by IEW, and I've also done some videos on that you guys can check out in the iCards and down in the description below. For writing, I personally wait until my kids are completely done with the learning to read phase before I move them into writing. A lot of these skills we throw at kids all at one time, having to learn how to write down their thoughts, learning to read, learning to spell, handwriting, all of these things at one time. And a lot of times our kids are not able to keep up with that because those things are usually better if they are tiered. There's a great article that All About Reading has done on why you may want to consider kind of staggering those skills instead of throwing them all at your kids at one time. And I will link that down in the description below as well. Another thing you can start working on with your child is vocabulary. We personally do not do a separate vocabulary curriculum. We have that built in with the Fix It Grammar because every single day when they're correcting their sentence, they have a vocabulary word that they're going to look up in the dictionary and write down the definition. I do not quiz my kids on vocabulary. I do not test them on it to make sure that they remember all of the words. I just want to expose them to lots of new words and have them look up those meanings. You can do this through a lot of different ways. You could use something like Fix It Grammar. There are programs like Wordly Wise that have your kids look up different vocabulary words and do kind of have different crossword puzzles and activities and quizzes. Kind of think like a spelling list for vocabulary. So that might be an option if that's more your style. But also, if you don't want to add any additional curriculum, just consider as your child is going about their daily reading to have them look for words that they don't understand what that means and encourage them to look them up, write them down, and that will just help them to kind of introduce them to those words as well as help build those research skills. So obviously, in addition to diving deeper or for starting these other subjects, we obviously want to encourage your child to continue to read. Personally, I suggest encouraging your child to read 20 to 30 minutes a day. Now, we do this a couple of different ways. You find what works best for you. I do assign reading to my children. I do take into account the things they are interested in because I want to ignite that love of learning. As they get older, I actually start transitioning to assigning 20 minutes of reading today, as well as having them read 20 minutes of their book of choice, so that they are reading up to 40 minutes a day. But the important thing with assigning your kids reading material or with encouraging them to read on their own is remembering that we want to give a feast, a plethora of different kinds of books for our kids to consume. You can do this by going to the library and looking up things that are of interest to them. You can go on different deal sites like thrift books or book outlets to grab different books. But if you're not sure what books to assign to your kids, what books to have your kids read, I highly recommend checking out a couple of these resources. Resources like Honey for a Child's Heart, which is a book of book lists broken down by age group for your child and has a little description of each book. There is also online resources like Read Aloud Revival or Heritage Mom Blog, who has great book lists that you can choose from. And then our favorite that we have used quite a bit is Sunlight. Now, while we haven't in the past used Sunlight curriculum formally, they do actually have reading lists that you can see. So you can see what they assign for different age groups and just pick books based on that. If you are one that likes closer to a guide, something to actually walk you through step by step, you could obviously purchase their entire curriculum, but you can just purchase the reading portion of their curriculum. You can purchase the guide. I think it's about $20 on Sunlight. You can go to their website, you can get that purchase, and then just gather the books yourself, get them from the library, get them from thrift stores, or from garage sales, and it will break down for your child exactly how many pages they should read a day, as well as breaking down for you different comprehension questions. So it'll give you the question and the answer. So even if you as a parent have not read the material, you can still follow along. If you know which books you want your child to read, but you would like to know how to dive into those books deeper, how to help them get some of those vocabulary skills, how to help them get some of that reading comprehension and those kinds of things, and you like to have a guide, again, the Sunlight guides can be a fantastic resource. Progeny Press also offers great reading resources, and the way those are designed is your child actually reads the book in its entirety first, and then they go back and kind of read through the book again and then answer the questions within the study guide. Those can be quite in depth. They have a whole plethora of options that I highly recommend checking out. Of course, Teachers Pay Teachers is also a great online resource. You can go buy study guides specifically for different age groups, different grades, and for specific books. So don't forget to check out that resource as well. While we are no longer in that learning to read phase and we move into this new phase, it can be tempting or easy to stop having your child read aloud to you. Yes, my children do the majority of their reading on their own, but I do still encourage my kids from time to time to read to me. This again helps me to make sure our mastery is there, to see if there's any skills that we need to review on, and is a great way for bonding. And with that in mind, don't forget to read aloud to your child as well. This is such a special time and a great time to kind of work with things, help them understand those reading comprehension things, is to do read alouds. I just talked about this in my video of 10 top mistakes that homeschoolers make. You guys can check that up in the iCards or down in the description below. But I would just encourage you to continue reading aloud to your kids, having them read on their own, and from time to time, reading aloud to you. I hope this has been helpful. I will drop links down to all the resources I mentioned down below, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.